I beat Metroid Prime 4. It was mid. I have to say it was incredibly mid because it had some really high highs. A lot of the ways the worlds were designed and the ambience of everything and the music. A lot of good boss fights, you know. All that was tippy top, but it gets ruined by these really, really low lows. I'm talking the motorcycle sections. I'm talking collecting green crystals. I'm talking, God, just everything in the end game, to be honest. The whole end game really made me distraught. Let's start at the beginning of the game. So most of you guys have probably seen the memes of like setting the voice settings to 0 as soon as you like interact with this first dude. Yeah, that first character, the guy with the glasses, he sucks. Every character in this that's like a human is just really generic. I only really found myself liking the robot character just because he was like a robot and was a robot, you know? Like, there's no depth to him, he's just a robot, but I was like, it's just a breath of fresh air that I like get to listen to like an actual written character, and it's not just some like BS generic guy doing stuff. So I think the main issue is that they introduce him really quick into the beginning of the story, when like, I know another criticism I've heard is like Metroid Prime, like you're all alone on the island, suddenly like you're with people. I don't think that was the worst idea to try to like implement, you know. I'm glad they're trying something new. It just sucks that these characters are just like so absolutely horribly written. It feels like each one of them is just kind of like a generic, you know, character you've heard 1,000 times, and that there's no depth to them whatsoever. So this first guy that we run into, he's like the nerdy guy with the glasses, who's like clumsy, like, oh my goodness, oh, this is terrifying. Oh, I'm so scared, and I'm clumsy, but I'm a smart guy, and I'm dependable, and I'll help you out, you know. Just like, I don't know. We've seen this character 1,000 times in other different medias. But yeah, I think all the characters are really generic. So first guy with the glasses, he sucks. Probably the biggest thing that sucks about this game is you've got to go back to this guy every time that you get a chip, whereas in like the last Prime games, you know, you get like a new upgrade and Samus just installs it herself there. No, this time you've got to loop around back to the home base every single time, and they try to make this like not rewarding, but like have a reason behind it by the fact that each time you like unlock an elemental shot, you go to this like puzzle piece that's right by the home base, and you like use the elemental shot to like unlock a part of this puzzle, and then once you complete the full puzzle, you get a tank. Which honestly, I was expecting a little more than just a tank for completing the whole darn puzzle. So that was kind of pissing me off too. I thought there was going to be some cool elemental upgrade or something, but we'll get to that. So they try to give you a reason to go back to the base. I don't think there's... that was a bad run. I don't think there was any other reason to go back to the base in this whole game other than just like for the very final ending, when like you've got all your characters together and you've got to like go back to the base to like rally the troops or whatever. So I don't know, I feel like maybe they just included the chips to make it feel like, you know, you're going back and forth between your home base. This is your home base, this is where everyone hangs out, like just to like familiarize yourself with the base for that like home ending thing where you've got to be back there for all the characters. Needless to say though, that part absolutely sucks. I hate getting a new elemental thing and having to go back to base and not just like being able to use it. And then you also have to go into the desert section to get back to base, which we'll get to. But yeah, that sucked. But we'll stay on the characters here. All right, we'll go over the characters. So other character, what's the next character you get introduced to? I believe it's the hunter guy in the ice layer. So this guy is like generic sniper, like serious dude who's also like religious, and he actually ends up playing a big part in the story because in the end game he'll be in the desert area and you can like go stop by him and like listen to him by a campfire and get some of his stories, and those stories suck, but you gotta sit through it and you can't skip it because he gives you an upgrade at the end, right? So you feel like you gotta sit through this story, but basically his whole backstory is, he lived like alone in this barren village and he like hunted to survive, and then eventually that wasn't enough to survive, so he like joined the military or whatever. And it's like, oh, he's just like this stoic, serious dude. He doesn't really have much behind him. Like, I guess he's like religious is like his whole thing. He's like prays to the sun god pretty much. Shout out Dark Souls. And yeah, just again, another generic-ass character, no depth. That's literally, I can tell you like his whole backstory in 3 sentences. That's it. That's it. So that really sucks. And then the next 2 characters you run into is another generic stoic guy. But his whole bit is he like clears his throat like after every sentence. He's like, oh well, I guess we'll do that. And that's his whole thing. But he's like this stoic leader, and we're going to find his like recruit and save her. And he's like the stoic badass dude that you know, he's just there to get the job done, and you know, he's just working with Samus. He doesn't fawn over her like we'll find his private that we're like saving. She like goes crazy as her Samus. She's just like the fanboy archetype. She's like, oh my god, to like an annoying point where she's just like, oh my god, Samus, oh my god, I can't believe I'm working with you and it's so cool, and I'm embarrassing myself. And then the older guy's like, hey, you're embarrassing yourself, like take it seriously, what are you doing? So that's all incredibly generic and annoying, and you're gonna hear me say generic a lot with these characters because that's all they are. So those characters both really suck, and something that annoyed me about interacting with them is that in their level, you need to, well, I guess in any of these levels really, when you're interacting with these characters, a lot of time you have to like have them run by you, have them like do things for you, when it just feels like in the past, Samus could have just done all this shit herself. It's just dumb, just useless ass characters that are like just there to do simple things. Like the reason this guy's around is so you can have a second person to press a button to open a door. Like, wow, did we really need that? Do we really need a second guy just to open doors? Those 2 characters are annoying. And then the last character is the robot. And the robot, again, you have to like go with him and lead him around, and he like punches stuff for you, like in 2 different levels. Like you have to wait for this guy to like punch stuff. And to get him to punch stuff, you have to fully scan something, which we'll talk about too, the scanning in the game later. And then scan it again, so he like goes and it's like, okay, I got your order. So you can't just keep in mind, you can't just like, he doesn't do things for you, he's not ahead of anything. You've got to like fully scan something, and then you've got to freaking wait for him to like, for his AI to like do the path tracking to the thing, do the animation, and then he kills it. So that really annoyed me. But as far as dialogue with a robot character, he is a robot. That's it. He's very robotic. He doesn't really have any emotions. He's just like, I am here to serve you, Samus. I'm a robot. So that was a refreshing breath of fresh air, you know. The fact that I wasn't being annoyed by the dialogue for once, I would say, was astounding. I enjoyed not being annoyed during that game with the dialogue. Okay, so, and as far as the story, without spoiling anything, I'll get into the spoils at the end. You're basically just like, you land on this random planet after being teleported in the middle of a big war, and there's these like aliens that want you to like keep their culture alive or whatever. They want you to preserve the, I think they're called Lumonian or Lumons, something or other people. And they're like, preserve us, Samus, you are the chosen one. And that, I guess that was fine, you know. The story as the whole really gets put down by these annoying ass characters. Like, if the characters weren't so damn annoying, like, the story would be a lot better. Honestly, if they just even weren't there to begin with, the story would be a lot better. Like, let's be real, Samus should be alone in all this. So anyway, yeah, that's the story. That's what I think of the characters, the dialogue. Now, the gameplay. Gameplay, when you're in these areas, so there's 5 different areas you'll be in. It's like a forest, you got all different types of environments, and the environments are really well done. They look really good, the ambience is awesome, the music is awesome. The enemies are fun to fight for the most part. Some enemies get a little replayed, particularly the, well, without spoilers, I guess just like the humanoid aliens get really annoying to fight. Just because in the end game, that's like all you're fighting pretty much. But anyways, I really enjoyed the boss fights in each area. There's 5 areas. We got a magma area, a mines area, an ice area, like thunder, I don't know, like vehicle factory area, and then the jungle area. and all of them are really nicely differentiated from each other. They all have like unique enemies and like bosses, and the bosses are really, really fun. The gameplay in this game, really, really fun until you realize, oh, Nintendo just kind of slapped open world onto this title, and in between to get to each of those areas, there's a huge desert with nothing in it that you've got to cross every time you want to go to a new area. So the desert really, really brought down the whole gameplay for me. That's what I'm talking about. I think the main takeaway you want to have with Metroid Prime, really, really high highs, gonna be some really, really low lows. So that's why I'm just saying it's mid in the end. You know, I had a at the end of the day, I had a good time playing it, but there was just so much that annoyed me and was bad that I can't, in my like wholeheartedness, give it a decent review. Like it just sucked. There's a lot of it that sucked. So even though I had a good time with it, I don't want to sit here and lie to you and be like, oh, game of the year, or like even like give it like a 8 out of 10 or anything, which I've seen as like the main Metacritic review. I think the game is like, I don't know, maybe even leaning towards a 6, honestly, just because of how much poor decision making was implemented into the gameplay and everything. So anyway, the desert. What's wrong with the desert? Well, first of all, the vehicle does not move fast at all. And I'm coming off of just like playing Kirby Air Riders, where I think I saw a meme about this before, where it's like you're doing 30 miles per hour on like your bike in Kirby Air Riders, and you're like zooming. It's like crazy. You're moving fast, you know. You're trying to like keep up on corners and like stuff. It's like, oh my god, like I'm jamming. And then meanwhile in Metroid, you're doing like 800 miles per hour on a bike, and you boost to like 1,000 miles per hour, and it's like, oh, I barely move. Like I feel like I'm not getting far at all. And all that's in the desert are these green crystals that drive over them to collect. But the thing that sucks about the green crystals in the desert, and that I wish I had known sooner, I guess we'll do a wish I'd known sooner like at the end of this, just so everyone can keep track of if anyone's like gonna begin the game and wants to know what the heck to do and not do, I'll let you know. But in the end, the green crystals that you just break with the motorcycle don't really add up to anything. Like, they're a really minuscule amount of green crystals compared to what you find in the end game. So we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But that's a good first before you play the game. Just know that the green crystals in the desert, like, I don't know, like if they're directly on your path, like you might as well do it, but don't farm these guys. Actually, so yeah, the green crystals are in the desert. There's also some like, I think there's a total of like 5 actual, I don't even know if you can call them areas. It's just like little things in the middle of the desert that sometimes have like a mech part, or just like a little parkour you can do to get like 5 extra missiles, you know? They're just, I forget what they call them, but they're just like abandoned pieces of buildings. And they're not big, and there's not a lot of them for how big the desert is. So the desert's a whole lot of emptiness, and you have this combat system for the desert too, which I hated. It's basically just you drive your motorcycle and you like hold a button to like lock on missiles to things that are following you and shoot them. But you can never upgrade your motorcycle's missiles unless I miss something. And then these things also take like, God, how many shots to shoot down? I mean, like 5 shots to shoot down. And there's things that'll like drive after you and like fly after you. It's just, it's a feeling like tedious and dumb because they never kill me. They never do enough damage to like take me out, even in the early game. It's just like annoying, something annoying to have to deal with. So yeah, the desert section, the whole open world aspect of it really sucks. Also, while you're in the desert, you have that like nerdy guy talking to you the whole time, being like, oh, if you do this, you'll do this. And I'm like, I know, dude. Like, I'm going to that area. Like, I know what I'm doing. I think the only time he actually helped me out was like once in the end game when he was like, oh, there's a mech part by this area. And I was looking for the last mech part. And I was like, okay, that was helpful. But like the 20 other times you freaking interrupted my radio with your stupid ass voice to like let me know what to do, you know, it wasn't helpful. I was already doing that. And as far as like puzzles in the game too, really not that difficult compared to older Primes. I mean, I've just played the first Metroid Prime remastered, and I actually never beat it because I just got stumped and I didn't want to look anything up, and I just, you know, kept throwing my head at the wall, and eventually I got sick of it and just moved on. This one I didn't have to look anything up. It was really simple just to get through anything. There wasn't any hard parts. If you ever get stuck in an area, I recommend just using your like psychic control beam. That's usually the way I saw things that I didn't understand. I honestly kept forgetting about it because it gets used so little that when it does come up, it's like, oh, that's right, psychic control beam. But just like think about all the things you have available to you, and if anything can help you in your scenario, that'll usually get you past anything. It's not really, there's nothing difficult. There's nothing to like translate or like think about with the scans. And so that's the other thing, the scanning. I feel like the scanning literally takes like maybe a half second too long, to the point where that gets annoying and tedious. I did like scanning things. I would even like read about the lore of like different items that I encountered, and that was fun, but the scans just, they took so long to do that it just ends up feeling tedious. But yeah, gameplay, combat, that's all really good. Desert section ruins it entirely. The fact that, I don't know, they kind of like splitting the areas into 4 different sections kind of gets rid of that whole like Metroidvania aspect of Metroid, where you're like going, I mean, you're still like going back to areas on the map, but the cool part about, I don't know, the original Metroid Prime for me was that it was like all interconnected, like the first Dark Souls, you know, like you can take this pathway all of a sudden as like a shortcut and go back to this like main area, this main hub. Whereas in this, you know, you like, okay, I went to the volcano to get like a cooling chip, and now I'm gonna go to like this other area to use like that cooling chip. Instead of like, I don't know, there's something in the volcano that uses the cooling chip that like loops you back around to the area where the cooling chip was needed. It's just like, oh, you just gotta drive it past across the desert there. So as far as beginner tips, I would say grind green energy crystals, and this is gonna suck at the beginning. If you just want to do more base damage with your cannon, spoiler, if you get 25% green energy crystals, you'll be able to do increased base damage with your cannon. You don't really need it for normal difficulty, honestly, but if you're just like, I don't know, trying to like feel like more of a power early on in the game, like I did, I pretty much got that done in the end game because I was like so over the green crystals that I like noticed like, oh, this is actually substantial. Like it increases the damage, it increases the firing rate of like your main, you know, beam. So it felt somewhat substantial. And then other beginner tip, there was a drone near the factory, or outside the entrance to the factory, like to the right of the entrance where the desert location is, that if you have psychic boots and the electric shock, shooting it will show you like all the locations of everything on the map. So yeah, I recommend doing that as soon as you get the lightning shot, because I did that very late in the end game too, and that kind of pissed me off as well. So anyway, those are the only beginner tips I'll give you. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Like, you're not going to have a difficult time with this game. Definitely not as difficult as I'm having with Devil Daggers here. And so as far as spoilers go, so yeah, this is the spoiler section. I'll give it a little second. There are going to be spoilers moving ahead here, so just so I can talk about the game fully. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. The story. Okay, I guess the big spoiler warnings are just going to be my complaints first and foremost. So, I didn't realize, and I should have realized, that you had to get the green energy crystals to like full to complete the game. I was hoping it would just be like something in the background, like you could just get upgrades with it and not have to like do it. But you have to get the energy crystals to get this memory fruit thing, which we'll talk about how that plays into the ending, which I thought was fine, I guess. It wasn't anything special. So that sucked. But a good thing to know is that a lot of the energy crystals you get, like a majority of them, are going to be from going into the areas to upgrade your elemental thing. There'll be like bags of energy crystals. That'll give you like a shit ton. And then you're going to get like a morph ball nuke at some point. And when you're able to destroy energy crystal, you'll see like big blocks of them. Those will give you a shit ton of energy crystals too. So that'll actually... So thankfully, you don't have to get all the energy crystals on the desert. That was something I was going to tilt about if that was the fact. In fact, like, once I did an area, I found like a new area just driving around the desert to upgrade an elemental shot. Just destroying the bags there, like, I was getting close to the end, but it put me like a quarter over what I needed just doing that. So I don't even know if you have to go to the desert at all if you just like snipe all the stones and all the bags of crystals in the elemental areas, because they give you a really, really substantial amount. But I hated that. I mean, the mech parts, like, that was one thing, but I was really hoping that I would just get the mech parts. I wouldn't go all the mech parts first because I was like, please just let this be like the only thing I have to get. And of course it ended up being not the only thing I had to get, and that really tilted me. Man, screw the green energy crystals. Screw collecting those. Screw whoever decided that was a development thing. And the thing that sucks even more about the green energy crystals is that the only upgrade that really matters for them is the first upgrade you get, where it increases your cannon speed. Because then the next upgrade, it makes it so your psychic control beam can speed up, which you're never gonna want to do. It's not like you're using them in fights or anything. You use them in like puzzles, so you want it to be like slow to like navigate, weave through these areas. So 50% useless, 75%. Now you can see green crystals on the map. Wow! And then 100% is you unlock this like barrier to your suit that it costs 30 missiles to use. God, 30 freaking missiles to use this barrier to your suit, and it doesn't even like block a substantial amount of damage. It just blocks one instance of damage. It costs 30 missiles, so you're better off like using those missiles to do like damage, especially in like the final boss fight, I would say. Particularly in the final boss fight when you're gonna be like fighting this dude forever and running low on resources for once. So yeah, whole green energy crystal progression thing is a joke. I hated it. The point of the game is to grab 5 teleporter keys. Once you like grab all the teleporter keys, you go back with all your homies to the teleporter area, and you fight the final boss, which I don't even remember his name, but it's like Cyrex or something. You just like see him at the beginning of the game. It's like, oh, this is the big bad guy that we're gonna fight at the end. And you fight him like a few times, but it ends up just being like robots imitating him every time. You fight him at the end, he's like, I've been waiting for this, Samus. And I'm like, I don't really get why he's been waiting for this. I couldn't tell if they were trying to make a connection between like, basically you figure out like at the end, like the world you abandoned, like as you got teleported, all the like life got wiped off the earth from the artifact. And then like there's like one dude left on the earth, and like you hold out your hand and he like slaps it away. He's like, screw you, Samus, like you didn't save us. So maybe that was Cyrex? I don't know. But no, then you see Cyrex before that even happened, so I don't know who the frick this guy is. I'm not even saying his name right, I'm sure. But he's the final boss, and then it ends with like, you beat Cyrex, and then he's like, comes back and he's like, you didn't beat me, and then your group of friends have to like hold him back while you like teleport alone to the area. Which was nice. I'm glad all those fuckers died in the end, even the robot. Rest in piss, everybody. Samus like takes a medal from like the religious hunter dude, which was like his symbol of his religion. And she teleports back to where everyone's dead, and she plants the memory fruit, which like starts growing a tree. So she's like bringing life to like the dead world, and that's her like passing on their life, doing what the aliens wanted. So story, if there wasn't character dialogue with characters that sucked, it would have been decent, you know. I don't hate that story. I really wanted to see Ridley, obviously. I think every Metroid fan just wants to fight Ridley, because it's Ridley, you know. He's iconic. I actually thought Ridley was a she for the longest time. I'm not sure where I got that from. I just started watching videos and finding out that it's a he. But yeah, overall, am I glad I bought and played the game? Sure. It was a decent enough time where I don't feel like I got like, you know, cheated out of my money or anything. But overall, mid experience, I would say. I'm gonna go back to Air Riders. I'm gonna buy Nintendo Online, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot more fun and hours out of that game. So yeah, there's my Metroid Prime review, and we'll move over to some Valorant now.